Okay, so I'm going to cover some trig stuff this morning. And the good news is you seem to like trig. SOHCAHTOA, sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. Simple trig problems are great. You like them. Solve for an angle, solve for a side. But the bad news is they're probably going to throw a trickier trig problem. Not that it will be super hard, but it might be. So I want to go over two of the more rigorous type of trig problems that might show up for 4 or 6 points. Probably more likely 4. This one's not too bad. This is like what we call double trig, where you have to do 2 of them and subtract. So it wants you to find in this problem how tall the lighthouse is. So draw that picture. You have this in an old packet somewhere, but we're going to dust off our brains here and figure out how we did this 3 months ago. So how tall the lighthouse is this distance right here. The problem is that's not the side of a right triangle. It is the side of this triangle, but that triangle doesn't have a 90-degree angle in it, so we can't use SOHCAHTOA because you can only do that with 90s. What we could do, though, if you remember, is we figured out that triangle's height right here, and then we figured out that triangle's height right here, and then we subtracted those two, and you end up with that piece there. So that's how we're going to handle this. So the first triangle, I'm going to redraw the big one, and it has a giant angle of 21. We're looking for the height, and the bottom is 300. That's opposite and adjacent, so it's tangent of 21 equals the height over 300. So then we need, oh, just a sec. Mr. Fields. Oh, that's right. I'll have him put it in degree mode. Thank you. Now remember, when you clear your calculator and you're doing trig, make sure it's in degree mode first. And then we cross multiply here, and we have h times 1, 300 times the tan of 21. And that comes out to be about 115.159. Now I'm not going to round off until I'm totally done. Then there's the smaller triangle, which is still 300 on the bottom. It's only an 18-degree angle, and we're looking for the height. So it's identical, except it's tangent of 18 equals height of 300. That's the only difference. And when we cross multiply, we get h equals 300 times the tangent of 18. And that is 97.476. And when I subtract those two, you subtract and you get 17.684, and it wants it to the nearest foot, so 18 feet. Okay, and this is where it could get a little bit more rigorous. You notice that it's called systems of trig equations here. And if you ever have a trig problem that you can't solve otherwise, so if you went through here and you know the bottom is 40, and you're looking for the height of that tree, you see the two triangles. You see this mint green triangle over here? If you tried to solve that, and you don't know what the bottom is, so you just called it x, you would end up with the tangent of 42 equals the height over x. Problem is we have two variables there, right? If you tried to solve the other side, which would be this pink triangle over here, you would have the tangent of 36 degrees equals the opposite over adjacent, which is the height over, now this side here can't be called x, so we call it 40 take away x. The entire thing was 40. We already named this x, so this is called 40 minus x. And again, we can't really solve it because there's two variables there. But since we have two equations, we can set up a system. So if I go back to the purple one and solve for the height, h times 1 is h, right here. And then x times the tangent of 42. And on the pink one, I can cross multiply, and I end up with h times 1 is h. And I have the tangent of 36 times 40 minus x. Again, I still have an h and an x. But what you might remember us doing in class is changing the tangent of 42 and the tangent of 36 into decimals. So on your calculator, type in tan 42, and you get 0.900. So I have h actually equals 0.900 times x. And tangent of 36 is really the number 0.727 if you round up. So 0.727 times 40 minus x. And we still have two variables in both, but they're both equal to h. This is equal to h, and this is equal to h. And if two things are equal to the same thing, h, then they're equal to each other. So I can set this up as 0.900x equals 0.727 40 minus x. So I set them equal to each other because they were both equal to h. And now I'm going to distribute the 727 times 40, which is 29.08 minus 0.727x. That's distributed. Rewrite the left side. And now I'm going to add 0.727x to both sides. Just regular simple algebra, but with longer decimals, making it look trickier, but it's really not. I have 1.627x's equals 29.08. Divide both sides by 1.627, and I have 17.87. Okay, now believe it or not, we're not done. That's just x. So if you look at this triangle up here, we now know that x is 17.87. So now we can solve this triangle the old-fashioned easy way because we know an angle and we know a side. So now it's going to go back to tangent of 42 equals h over 17.87. (16.09 feet), and the problem said to the nearest foot, in this particular case, 16 feet. This is definitely worth going over more than once. So if you followed me the first time, you didn't draw the picture, go back and re-watch this video, draw the picture from scratch, and study this problem. Because it's a tricky trig problem, and if trig's on there, we want to nail it, and this is about as tricky as trig will be. Good luck. Keep up the studying and bring all this with you on Friday.